time to go to Bangkok. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and this is my third and final The Amazing Readathon vlog. We have just started leg 8. Well, by just started, it started yesterday, and I did start reading yesterday, and I never got in front of a camera. So I'm gonna do a little bit of updating on where I am currently trying to get to Bangkok. So for Bangkok, we had to find a book that had 5 distinct colors on the cover. I really have been feeling a little bit of a slump coming on, so I wanted something fun, quick, and easy. So I looked at my TBR cart and there was a book that I kept rolling over for the last few months. I haven't gotten to it. It's been on my TBR since April, and I have not gotten to it. So I finally did this month. So I decided to pick up The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. I love Talia Hibbert's books, and so far this is definitely not letting me down. This is a very fun rom-com. These characters have such great personalities, and there's also so many awesome side characters with also great personalities. So in this book, we follow Cherry, and Cherry is an HR person at like an academy for children in the UK. One day she's in her office when a very handsome man comes in. He's talking to basically the dean of students to maybe work with them in a partnership. He sees Cherry, his name is Ruben, and they immediately spark some sexual chemistry. They go out to dinner and he asks if he can take her out after work. She wants to go home and change first, so they end up going to her house and do not even really make it inside. They start making out on the street. Then a paparazzi shows up and starts taking their picture, cut to finding out that Ruben is actually the prince of a country that I cannot remember, but he is a prince of a country. He has recently had a scandal and really can't have another one, and also he doesn't want these pictures to go to the press for Cherry's sake. So he says that Cherry is his fiance because they have a deal with the paparazzi that they can't show the family's pictures. If she is part of the family, as in being a fiance, they would not be able to show the pictures. However, it does leak that he has a fiance, and they kind of start doing a fake dating, fake engagement. This is going to last for 1 year, and they do a contract where he will give her some money in order to be his fiance. She needs the money. Her sister has a chronic illness. Her sister is going to Harvard. There's a lot of things that her family needs and she needs. So she decides to just go with it and move to this country and live there, live in his house, and be his fiance. Of course, they still have a lot of sexual chemistry. So there is still some flirtations going on. They're very bantery. The smutty scenes are hot. They're hot. I mean, it's Talia Hibbert. I come to expect nothing less. But it's a fun book to read. I'm currently at 54% and having a great time, so I have sprints tonight with my patrons, and I'm going to be reading this tonight and potentially even finishing it off. It just depends on how the evening goes, but either tonight or tomorrow morning, this is getting done. So I have finished The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. The side characters are super eccentric. This couple is so fun and has some pretty spicy scenes happening, which, you know, we love. But also there's a seriousness to this book, especially as we dive into more of the royal side of it and meeting the royal family. We see that that family has its own set of dysfunctions, and we dive into that through Ruben's perspective and a little bit through Cherry's as well. I do want to mention that there are triggers for domestic violence in this book. It's not on page, but it is talked about. So it's definitely something you would want to know about if that's something that you want to steer clear of for various reasons. And I don't normally mention triggers because I always assume that people should look into every book for triggers before they go into it. But since this is a romance and most people would consider it to be fluffy, I do want to mention that. It's not between our main couple, and like I said, it is off page. It's not a huge part of the book, but it is in there and definitely something to be aware of. But realistically, Talia Hibbert never lets me down. 4 stars. It was a fast read, and that's exactly what I needed because I'm feeling still a bit slumpy. That being said, the city had not dropped when I finished this. I ended up reading a couple of things for sightseeing, but realistically, I just wanted to dive into a novel and not be jumping around to tiny little books. So I was on Tuesday night sprints. I had 2 options, both of them that I need to read for various projects. So I kind of gave the chat the option to pick, and they decided well, decided is questionable because it was very close. There was very much a split of almost a 50-50 thing of which one I should read. So we decided that I would read Love Theoretically. I did start Love Theoretically on those sprints. The city had not dropped. And I was about 60-ish pages, 60, 70 pages through when I put it down on Tuesday night when sprints were over. Wednesdays, I don't typically read. You know this. It's a busy day. So by sometime on Wednesday, a city did drop. And this morning, I repicked up this book. Now, luckily, this vlog will not go out until the Amazing Readathon is over. Because if you know what city we're going to, you know that's Auckland. Auckland, New Zealand. Here we are. You will also know that the prompt for Auckland is water on the cover. And you may say,
Brittany, there's no water on that cover.
And you would be correct. There is no water on this cover. But since the Amazing Readathon is done, I can tell you that Sci-Fi did earn a little reward at one point during the Readathon and got something called an Express Pass. And with the Express Pass, I can read any book that I want for one leg, even if it doesn't fit the prompt. And that's exactly what I'm going to do because I'm enjoying my time with this book. Again, I need something kind of light, fun, easy to read, romance, just because my brain is tired. And I was enjoying this when I put it down on Tuesday night, and I kind of just wanted to jump back into it this morning. So even though it didn't fit the prompt, I'm counting this and using it to get to New Zealand. Now, I've already read some of this morning. I am currently 160 pages into this book and I'm just about to start chapter 12. In this book, we follow Elsie, and Elsie is an adjunct professor, which I guess means is a traveling professor. I don't really know that much about academia, so I didn't fully understand what that was until the book explained it. She is now trying to get a job at MIT, though, as a permanent professor and researcher. This job comes with health benefits, vacation, not having to travel around, more stability, more money, all things Elsie could need. She definitely needs the health insurance, though, because she has type 1 diabetes. And this is something that she's really struggling with in her current job because she does not have the medical care that she needs. And her insulin is expensive and she's having to ration stuff. And that's very dangerous. We know that's very dangerous. So that's a big part of this book is Elsie's, medical condition. Elsie, to cover the cost of her living and also her insulin and all those things, starts working for an app called, I believe it's Faux. And basically it's a fake dating app. So clients can basically sign up and get a date with a girl for, an evening if they need somebody on their arm for a wedding or what have you. At the start of this book, she's going to a family event with one of her clients who is Greg. His name's Greg. She's going to a family event with Greg. She meets his brother for not the first time because Greg is one of her regular clients. We come to find out that Greg's family is really on him to get a girlfriend, and he does not want to get a girlfriend for his own reasons that we do explore in this book. And he does not want to be dating. So he uses Elsie to get them off his back. His brother is at this function. She meets him again. She's, like I said, met him before, and they definitely do not get along. His brother is very close to his other brother, and he does not like Elsie for whatever reason, or at least Elsie thinks that. Cut to her going to her first interview for this MIT position and finding out that one of the people on the board to decide if she gets a job is the brother Jack, Greg's brother Jack. And also come to find out that he is an experimental physicist who really looks down upon, or at least from what Elsie's perspective, on theoretical physicists. He apparently wrote a very long article at one point about kind of the absurdity of theoretical physicists and the science as a whole. And she is a theoretical physicist. So obviously this puts them kind of in an enemies to lovers situation. Obviously, they're not mortal enemies. It's a contemporary romance. I always use enemies as a very loose term in contemporary romance because, let's be honest, it's not like they're going to stab each other. It's not that kind of enemies. But, dislike to what I'm assuming is love. Haven't seen that yet. But from what I'm assuming is going to be that. I mentioned this during Face Off. I'm trying to read through all the rest of the Ali Hazelwoods that I need to read, which is this one and one more, the brand new release that just came out. And then I've caught up on the author's entire backlist for a video that I have coming up once I finish those books. So by coming up, I use that very loosely. Still may be a while depending on how long it takes me to get to the other book. But this one is the one that I'm going to be reading for Auckland. And so far, I'm having a good time. I do love Ali Hazelwood books. I really do. I like Ali Hazelwood. I know that some people find it a bit systematic and very much the same book over and over, which I can see that as a critique. I don't really mind that, and I'm wondering if that's because I like retellings and I like a systematic story. That's what a retelling is in a lot of ways. Yes, the characters are different and some of the plotting is different, but the style of the story in a retelling, to be a retelling, has to fit the original story. So it has to have that same flow, that same guideline, that same system. And I'm wondering if that's why Ali Hazelwood works for me where it may not work for some other people, is I find comfort, especially when I want a comfort read, in a very knowable layout, almost like you would in a reread where you like know what's going to happen. I like that, but I don't want to reread books. I want a new story, new characters. I want to fall in love with new people, but I still want to know kind of the archetypes and the system laid out, because I want something kind of cozy and comforting at times. And that's why I love retellings. And I think that's why I love Ali Hazelwood. I think it's the same reason, which is really, really interesting to like dive into and think about. Anyway, I'm going to continue reading this today on sprints. I have Thursday sprints today, so I've got lots of reading and work time on my plate for today. So this is definitely what I'll be focusing on and hopefully getting a fair way through. It's reading very quickly, as I would expect it to. It is a romance. It's an Ali Hazelwood romance. I read them very quickly, and that's what I'm going to be working on today. So I have finished Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. The part of this book I think I related to the most, though, was Elsie as a people pleaser. Elsie is a big time people pleaser, to the point that she really will sacrifice what's best for her to please someone else. I am a person who definitely does that and am working on not doing that a lot and learning to say no and learning to put myself first. But that's hard sometimes. And I saw Jack uplifting Elsie to do just that and really showing her her strength and her voice, and that it's okay to put up boundaries in your life. And I really did relate to that part of this book. There's also a moment where Elsie has this monologue to Jack that is the best or one of the best monologues of a mentally exhausted person that I have ever seen. As a person who has generalized anxiety disorder, which our character doesn't, but it is something that I do have, and with that can come mental exhaustion at times, and I understand that as well. Hearing Elsie kind of verbal vomit that to Jack and explain how exhausted she was and just how she needed help picking up all the pieces of everything that she was carrying, again, really related to that in this book. I would definitely recommend this book, and again, gave it 4 stars. Then I did something a bit dangerous because I finished this before we found out where we were going next. As of now, I now know that we are heading back to the United States and to Los Angeles. And for that, we needed to get a book that you would like to see adapted. And I took that kind of as long as the book wasn't adapted or wasn't about to be adapted, you could use it. Thankfully, the book I started has not been adapted. It's not optioned. It's none of those things. So it works for this prompt. And when I read the synopsis, I would say it would have worked, that I would have wanted it to be adapted. It sounded interesting from the synopsis. I had only read 11 pages of this book when the prompt dropped, so I certainly wasn't very far through. Now, it's a little bit of a different story. I have read a little bit. And that is A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe by Alex White. This book is technically on my July TBR, but I figured that if it didn't work for this prompt, I would be finishing it in July because I would be putting it down. So it was okay to get a little bit of head start, and now I'll just read it in June. It's fine. And by read it in June, we're going to see how it goes, because as of right now, I'm not enjoying this book. I am 161 pages in and I am not enjoying this book. So this may be a push to 51% and then stop reading. That's kind of where I'm at this point. We'll see how it goes as I continue to get through. But if I get to 51% and I'm still feeling the same about it, I'm going to be done. In this book, we follow Nyla and also Boots. Nyla is a racetrack driver, and there's some technological advancement that makes it kind of different racetrack riding than you and I have seen. There's also a magical component, and I would love to explain to you what the magical component is. However, that is one of my problems with this book. The world building is very, very lacking. It's almost non-existent. We're just throwing out terms with absolutely no backing or making sense of them. And it is definitely the main reason that I'm considering DNFing this book. So Nyla is racing around the track when all of a sudden she gets caught up in this magic by someone called Mother. Mother kills the other person in the other car that Nyla is like in this magic with. This person was named Cyril. Cyril found a map to a lost spaceship that is at the edge of the universe, and Mother either wants that map or doesn't want him to have that map, again, unclear. She murders Cyril and then teleports Nyla to another place in the galaxy. Nyla, trying to figure out what's going on, goes and finds Boots, Elizabeth Boots. Boots is her nickname. Her name's Elizabeth. The reason she goes to find Elizabeth is because Elizabeth sold Cyril this map, and she thinks maybe she knows what's going on, and she kind of does. She kind of knows it shows where this ship is. Why that's a big deal and why Mother kills about it, still unclear. So Boots and Nyla team up with Boots's old spaceship and crew and decide to hunt down this ship. And that's kind of where I am right now. And the world building, again, lacking, and it's what's driving me crazy about this book. But also, the age of the characters is so strange to me that that's also driving me crazy because they seem so young. The way they're written, they seem so young. And I think Nyla might be. I think Nyla might be in her early 20s. To be honest, Nyla's age is unclear to me at this point because we are just spitting out numbers. And again, not really making sense of the numbers that we're throwing at me as a reader. I do think that Boots and the crew are in their 30s and 40s. So they are definitely not super young, but are acting it big time. They read very young. And since you're going to tell me their ages and tell me they're not, then you best write them differently. And you best write them more mature than Nyla because I'm pretty sure she's young. I'm pretty sure she is young just by the way we talk in reference to her. But they are all written with the same maturity level, which is why it's hard to understand who's young, who's old, what is going on here in a lot of ways. And because the world building is just not here and all the things that I've said, it's making it very hard to really fall into this story. You're really just sitting on the edge of it and you're not fully understanding everything. So you can't really dive in, really picture it all and fall into this world, into the story that it's trying to tell. It feels very one note because of the lack of world building. And that is why I'm very much considering DNFing it. You will know next time you see me if I end up liking it more in the next about 19%. If it weren't for the Amazing Readathon, I probably would just DNF this now, but I am going to push through to at least 51%. And maybe I'll like it more and decide to continue on, but we'll see when I get to that 51% mark how I'm feeling. I forgot to bring the book down, but this is the last update for this Tar vlog, and unfortunately I'm ending Tar on a very sad note of a DNF. I watched that audiobook tick to 51% and I immediately stopped it. I had no interest in continuing with the book for all the reasons I've already stated, so I'm not going to go into that, and I'm just going to wrap this up. Firstly, I want to thank Team Sci-Fi. You have been the most amazing team to be the co-host of, and also my amazing co-host, Zoe. Zoe and I have had such a fun time being with all of you, and I've had such a fun time being with Zoe. We have to thank Bree, because Bree did so much work to plan this readathon, and I cannot say enough about how much I know goes into this and how fantastically it was put on. Thank you, Bree, for having me again this year. This is one of my favorite readathons to do, and I had such a fun time doing it again this year. Lastly, all the producers and the other co-hosts, again, I've had such a fun time with you all and everyone else on all the other teams as well. It's been a really fun 30 days of racing around the world and reading books together and competing against each other. I don't know who's won. I don't know that at this point, but I do really enjoy this readathon and I really hope it's back next year. I had such a great time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite book of the Amazing Readathon last 3 legs was. Let me know down in the comments. I'll talk to you in the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you then.